Hey, Amie.
Yeah, Juan.
Give me that beat.
It's Baseball Shangri-La with Amie Cuevas and Juan Ramirez.
What's up, party people? She is Amie Cuevas. I am Juan Ramirez. You are listening or watching Baseball Shangri-La. If you're listening to us on the audio portion, please make sure you're subscribed to the podcast. Rate us, write us a review. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel. Hit that notification button. Give us a thumbs up. Leave us comments. We love engaging with you. And most importantly, make sure you're following us on social media, on X at BB Shangri-La, on Instagram, YouTube, and Twitch at Baseball Shangri-La. Amie, ¿cómo estás?
Hi. Did you feel better about this Players Weekend this year than you did in other years?
A long time no talk, Amie.
It's been forever.
Let's start with the Players Weekend.
You mean Timo Players Weekend?
All right. Can you first, for those of you who aren't aware, can you explain the Timo thing?
It's like a knockoff. Like, you can buy stuff cheaper on that site than you can like most places. It's like a knockoff. So it was like knockoff Players Weekend. Like, where are our jerseys? I want Dick Mountain jerseys.
So, this is going to be a bitch session. For how long, I don't know, but this is a bitch session. So, okay, since you're more positive than I am, I'm going to let you start. Or do you want to wrap it up to cleanse the palate? Because I have nothing good to say about it.
I wish we weren't calling it Players Weekend. Like, I'm not going to bitch, but well, maybe we are. I don't know. So the whole purpose of the weekend in this new version, because it was a 4 years hiatus, they were going to base it off of the three different days of fun, charities, and people that the players appreciate. And instead of having the trademark jerseys that we're all used to, the fun jerseys, different colors, players get to put their nicknames on the back. They decorated cleats. Their hats had zany little cartoon numbers on them, and then they got to decorate their bats, which, great. They could do that with jerseys on, though. You could do all that and have jerseys and make more money on the jerseys you're selling.
That's my biggest problem with this whole thing, Amie, is I had no clue. If I didn't already know it was Players Weekend,
I had no clue till I saw a hashtag on Twitter, and I was like, "It's Players Weekend," and then I had to go look up what we were doing again because it's not jerseys.
But I didn't know everything that you just explained right now. I didn't see any of it.
They did not advertise in advance for it, or at least, I mean, we're on Twitter pretty often. Sometimes you more than me, especially if I'm at work. But I didn't see anything leading up. It was in the game. I saw a hashtag and then noticed that they were talking about like different color. Like, we saw Mookie's like bluish, different tone bat, but like, it wasn't like they explained even in game really anything of like, hey, I want to hear from the players before the game. Tell me what your cool stuff is. I saw that Shohei Ohtani had decoy on his cleats, but I saw that on social media. Where was that incorporated before or after the game? Because I don't want to see it during the game. I want to watch the game.
Yeah, that was my big thing, where it was like, it was Players Weekend, and it's like, so you let them wear shoes and have their own bat. Like, some of the bats that I saw were cool looking, but you really didn't get a chance to really see them when they were playing, right?
No, there was some cool ones. So Jackson Merrill had a Star Wars lightsaber bat. Harrison Bader had a pink crayon. Ryan Jeffers had a pencil bat. Alex Verdugo had a Mexican power bat with a lot of symbolism on there. And then Tarek Skubal had his trademark Scooby-Doo. But it just, we didn't, like you said, we didn't see it when they were at bat. Like, you could kind of squint when they were there, but like, we didn't see any of it. It felt like it was more behind the scenes. So it wasn't a Players Weekend for fans. It was like more internal.
I think, to me, what's so, and I still don't know if we have gotten a actual reason as to why they went away from the jerseys. Like,
Manfred.
For me,
it's Manfred.
The jerseys, to me, it was something that visually is very clear that it's something different. And then having the nicknames on the back is a sense of fun, right? Baseball is fun. I didn't get that from you just letting them wear the shoes or doing the bat. That's one thing. The other thing was the second day was supposed to be about causes, a cause that's important to the player. We didn't see any of that.
Mm-mm,
None of it was promoted. And
mm-mm.
then on the third day, what I saw when I was watching it on Spectrum Sportsnet LA before the game started, when they were supposed to acknowledge someone that was important to them or that played an important role in them developing baseball, I saw Jerry Hairston and I saw Dontrell Willis. They both gave credit to their mothers.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see any of it from the players.
Well, and if you can have like pregame celebrations where I know I was at the game, so I saw it live, but you mentioned like with Dusty Baker, they broadcast that before the game. Broadcast put 15 minutes ahead of the game, just whether you collect those interviews ahead of time or you grab a couple players real quick. Hey, show me your cleats, show me your bat, tell me what your cause is. If you can do it in other cases, I don't like if this is such a big deal and it's supposed to incorporate, I would assume, the fans. Like otherwise, why else are you doing it? The players can just do this for themselves any other time. Like it felt like the fan element was missing. Not only did they not promote it, but it wasn't inclusive to the people who would want to be part of that fun. I didn't feel included. Did you feel included?
No, not. I'm telling you, I was just completely oblivious to it. I didn't know any of it was happening. Now, I want to give flowers to ESPN because I rarely do, but I will say I saw their telecast of the Little League Classic between the Tigres and the Yankees, and they did a really good job of in between innings. They would play the videos where they were asking the players the same questions they would ask the Little Leaguers when they played during the Little League World Series. So that was great getting to hear who Aaron Judge's favorite player is or who they would like to meet. That was really fun. All I'm saying, and I love the fact that in that stadium, all you see are just the little leaguers in the World Series. They're all in the stands, and my hat's off to Chaz Chisholm. Chaz Chisholm was sitting in the stands with players. Chaz Chisholm, there was a story on the broadcast, and I don't know how many people saw this, and I hope this is really true because it's a great story and it's great of Chaz Chisholm. When he got off the bus, did you see the video of the players getting off the bus, the Yankee players getting off the bus and just being swarmed by little leaguers?
Mm-mm.
So they were all swarmed by little leaguers and the players were signing baseballs and all. It was great. The kids were all loving it. And there was a kid right when Chaz Chisholm came off the bus. There was a kid that was like, "Oh my gosh, you're my best friend's favorite player. He's going to be so excited when he sees you." And Chaz Chisholm goes, "Well, where is he?" And he's like, "Oh, I can't wait until he gets to see you." So Chaz Chisholm is signing baseballs. And the last person in line is that little kid who the other kid was referencing. And the little kid goes up to Chaz Chisholm and goes, "You're my favorite player." And he's like, "Wait a minute, are you the one like your friend was telling me?" And he's just like, no, you don't understand. You are my favorite player. And Chaz Chisholm was like, and then Chaz Chisholm told him this, because it turns out that little kid's brother went to a baseball academy that Chaz Chisholm runs.
Okay.
And so Jazz says to him, she goes, "You know what? I'm going to be your big brother now. So whenever you need anything,
Oh,
whether it's equipment, if you need equipment, whatever you need, you come to me and I will help you." You then saw a video of him riding on the bus, sitting next to the kid. You saw video of him sitting in the stands next to the kid. So it was so great, right? All I'm saying is, could you imagine the reaction those kids would have if you had the players in those jerseys with nicknames on the back, the kids like laughing? I mean, they kept cutting to the Canadian team who was going nuts over Juan Soto. Like they were chanting for Juan Soto. And again, as I said, I have been critical of ESPN in the past, but credit needs to be given to them. My flores to them. I think they really caught the spirit of it. I wish there was more way to enhance the fun, because that telecast really felt like it was for the kids, and it was a reminder of like how great, at one point, all these kids, all they want to do is be like those major leaguers, so that
I feel like that's what we need more of in general in sports. Like we see it here and there. I think I sent you something like a week ago. The Mariners had like a reverse signing where they had all these kids come up with their own baseball cards and their balls, and the players came to get the autographs of the kids. And the look on everybody's faces, like the players looked like they were enjoying it, the kids looked like they were in high heaven. Like those are the things. Like we know that these players do a lot of stuff with charities, and I don't want to see it so that they can brag about it. Like, well, look who I helped. And I don't think that's what the players are doing. But when you see those heartwarming moments, it's just that baseball touch off the field. I would like to see more of that. I want to see them interacting with people, because not everybody gets the benefit of, beyond going to a game and seeing them play on the field, not everybody gets that close interaction with them. That is how we can get closer to these guys. And I feel like Players Weekend is an extension of that, of bringing the fun in during a very serious season, especially when we're scoreboard watching at this time of year. And it just felt like a watered down, not promoted version of that, where it's like, just, can you please just not call it Players Weekend? Can you just rename it to something else? Because it took the fun out of it.
Look, I've seen this happen before at Dodger Stadium, where they invite the little leaguers to come and they parade inside the stadium before the game starts. For Players Weekend, I would love for them on that Sunday game, or pick one game during the series, to do what the Dodgers and what the Yankees and the Tigres did. Invite the little leagues close to the stadium, invite them to the game, allow those little leaguers to interact with the players. And look, as much as a curmudgeon as I am, as much as like I am the Prince of Darkness, and I find a way to complain about everything.
Did your heart grow 5 sizes like the Grinch?
It was. I was totally like the Grinch watching that. I thought it was so great. I'm telling you, the jazz story to me was it was just so great to see, because for so long, all we see is, what they don't do, the negative. These guys don't care. They're in it for the money. And to see them doing, and like I said, a lot of it is because it felt genuine seeing it from Jazz. It really felt genuine. And I just, if it really is the connection between Little League and in Major League Baseball, I would have liked to have seen it done all over Major League Baseball.
Mm-hmm.
If the game was in St. Louis, invite all the little leagues in St. Louis to the game, and then have them out on the field, have them be able to get signatures from players, interact with players. And it goes a long way, in my opinion.
And I think so. The Dodgers do stuff like this, but we don't always see it. And I think that's
Right.
part of the piece that's missing. So like Yoshinobu Yamamoto and Evan Phillips, they're going to host the first LA Reads Japanese dual language reading story time session with I hope I don't kill this, but the Amestoy Steam Academy. So they're going to go and read books to children. Kershaw just did this recently. Like, we have these guys do this all the time. I know sometimes Backstage Dodgers covers this stuff, but if you don't have Spectrum or you don't get to watch stuff like that, we don't see it all the time. So it'd be nice if it did get broadcast out on maybe some of the other networks. So whether it's ESPN, some of that stuff, just making it available, because I think that's the humanity of the game, even if it's off the field. And I think seeing some of these, like the bats that were not just the fun ones that we talked about, but I think some of the players had bats to remind them of family members, whether it's children or siblings or parents. Like, they had all these really cool reasons. Like, they're not just creating these bats just to create it. Oh, MLB told us we had to do it. They put thought into this. And I feel like we missed out on, if we didn't get the jerseys, I know we keep saying that, but if we're not going to have that piece, like, how were we supposed to connect with them with this beyond a commentator maybe mentioning it here and there? But even then, you didn't really get a story. It was like, oh, and Mookie Betts is up with his, Players Weekend bat. Cool. What is it? What does it stand for? What does it mean to him?
Look, you're absolutely right. And you mentioned Sportsnet LA. I just want to throw this out there. But the latest episode with Matt Kemp, you might want to watch it, because your hosts, we have a cameo in that episode. So just putting it out there.
Or at least the back of our heads too.
Whatever. We're in the episode. All right. Just letting you guys know. we want to segue into another topic. Last week, this broke like I think towards the after we recorded last week. It came out that there was this story. Amy, you want to set it up?
Sure. Yeah. So Jesse Rogers of, I believe it was ESPN, wrote an article about the MLB potentially requiring like a 6 innings pitched minimum for starting pitchers. So the objective is to prioritize starting pitching, not leaving a starter to struggle or threatening injury or inflated stats or anything like that. But they want starting pitchers to spend more time on the mound, pitch deeper into games, and spend less time in operating rooms. So there's a lot more that we can break down on this, but the idea is it's going to kind of force teams to rethink their pitching standards because, as we've seen, the focus on stuff and velo versus command in the zone is having some implications on pitchers' arms, whether they're not going deeper into the games, they can't throw enough pitches, or not even talking about the control, but what that does to their arms. And then kind of pulling that pin out from what you were talking about in the last episode, taking away the sticky stuff, putting the pitch clock in, some of these changes for the game, how does that impact their arms on top of how we're training up the current batch of pitchers that speed is way better than command?
Yeah, I mean that to me is what it's all about. Is they are trying to find a way to force these teams to change their approach. That like look, and let's be clear, this is still a long ways to go because I don't know if the players union is going to sign off on this. Not only that, they got to run it like I mean, Amie has been giving us updates this whole year on the automated strike zone system. How long has that been in testing, Amie?
A while, and we were supposed to see it potentially next year, and now it's been pushed off to 2026. And that's what one of the articles was saying. I can't remember if it was ESPN or like Bleacher Report or somebody had an article on it, but basically this is how change starts to happen is you have these conversations. Obviously it's got to go between, the owners and the players union. And then eventually they'll roll it out into different like minor league scenarios and test it and do a lot of that, research on it before it even makes it to the big league. So it's not anytime soon, but it is addressing that something needs to change. These guys are getting injured way, way faster. If it's the mentality that we have in the minor leagues where we're not ramping them up with very many pitches, but also that focus is on velo, that's a problem. And as we've seen with a lot of the rule changes that have come about, MLB wants the ball to be in play more often. So if you've got pitchers that are focused just on striking people out and throwing as hard as they can, that's great for the pitchers and that's great for the teams to get the strikeouts, but it's not great for the fans that are watching the game and are like, great, cool, he pitched 100 again, struck another guy out. Like they want to see play on the field. That's why we got rid of the shift. That's why they made the bases bigger. They're trying to get people to steal bases. So it's very clear where the MLB stands on this.
And it's fascinating because as I mentioned in the last episode, it does seem like the Dodgers have more pitching injuries than any other team in Major League Baseball. So,
and to your point, you were even saying the way Gavin Stone pitches, him versus Walker Buehler or Bobby Miller.
Well, Walker Buehler to me seems like maybe I don't know if necessarily this is a good comp, but when I see Walker Buehler, I think of Tim Lincecum now. Like Tim Lincecum he won I think he was a 2-time Cy Young Award winner. But a lot of times people would say he was too small. He had a very violent motion and he was out of baseball fairly, very quickly. In terms of, he didn't have that much of a longevity. And so that is the concern, right? Is you want, especially good pitchers, you want them to pitch for as long as they can.
Kershaw's into his 17th year, and we're seeing some of these guys come up. And look at River Ryan. He was up a month and a half, maybe. He's already out.
To me, like the one that's really sad is Dustin May. I mean, Dustin May's already on his second Tommy John, and he's never really had a full season under his belt. Yeah. Like we saw the promise that Dustin May had, but we never really got to see him follow through with it because he would get injured so quickly. And so it sucks that these teams need to be forced to do this and that they can't do it on their own.
But we
But
saw
it's
that with the shift, though. It's the game adjusts to how it's being played and to how it's evolving. That's how we got the shift. Oh, well, we need to stop some of these runs. Well, let's just move 3 guys over to this side of the field or 3 over on that side. Well, then you are seeing less balls in play. Just like if you're striking people out, 99, 100 miles per hour. Okay, well, we had to change that. Now we're seeing people not only just it's changing the way the game is, but people are getting injured. We're seeing that pitching pool just diminish over time. They were saying that there would be some changes because obviously none of these guys are trying to not pitch to the 6th inning, right? But we're seeing a lot of them. Typically, they're on average they're going about 5 innings, which matches the research that the article provided from Jesse Rogers. So in 2014, starting pitchers averaged about 6 innings. As of right now, we're at maybe 5.25. So it's not just a Dodgers problem. It's endemic across the league. But because you aren't going to be able to necessarily get pitchers to that 6th inning, they're saying that they could leave without repercussions if they've thrown at least 100 pitches. Sometimes we're not even seeing that. If they give up 4+ earned runs or if they're injured. But if they do get injured, they have to have a required IL stint because they don't want anybody manipulating the injured list. So there are ways around getting around that 6th inning, but the whole objective is really you've got to change pitching because that's not going to be a stopgap. And they've dangled some things like a double hook for the DH. So you lose your DH if your starting pitcher comes out in under 5 innings. So that's a potential. Or even limiting pitching staffs, which I don't think is really the answer with the way people are getting injured at this rate. I don't think you can limit them at this point. I think you need to create change in other ways.
Yeah, it is. You're right. It all just goes back to the approach. It's not only about the velocity, but a lot of the reason why these pitchers don't pitch 6 innings is the philosophy, and that is they don't want them to face the lineup the 3rd time around. So that has nothing to do with injury. That is just their way of thinking. So again, it's about changing the philosophy, changing the approach, and I just think it sucks that they have to create a rule like that because like the fact that they had to ban the shift, I think is embarrassing because if someone's going to put 3 infielders on one side of the field, I would think that you're good enough as a Major League Baseball player to beat the shift. But apparently habits die really hard and I am still going to pull the ball no matter what. I will not go opposite field. I am allergic to that. And that's to me.
I don't know that it's necessarily that they're allergic. Hitting is hard. And so you pair the shift with a higher pitching velocity. I'm just trying to hit the ball at this point, let alone try to pull it. And now the only place I can potentially hit has got 3 people on one side. I get it. If you just want to win, then yeah, you keep the shift, you keep the velocity, whatever. But if you actually want to enjoy baseball and, with the pitching stuff, we also want to limit the injury, but some change does have to be made in that respect because you're not getting a lot of play. And it was brought up to your point about the 3 times through the lineup. Part of that has to do because we're also not ramping the pitchers up to pitch deeply in games, especially if they're coming up as rookies. So how am I going to even make it to the 3rd time through the lineup if I'm not ramped up? And let's say I do finally get there. Well, I don't have the strategy behind that okay, they've already seen me twice. How do I battle that? Because all I can do is throw hard. So it's like they're trying to challenge again that philosophy of like what you were saying in our last episode. Why is Kershaw so effective even as his velocity goes down? Because he's able to think through a lot of this stuff too.
Yeah, but it was funny. I was talking to a season ticket holder last week, and he was telling me, he's like, I got to say, a lot of the games that I've been to this year, I've been bored, and they've been bored because there's no action. And it's something that we've talked about with the Dodgers in the sense that they score early in the game, and then the offense just disappears for the remainder of the game, and that's why, because nobody's getting on base. I am surprised by the number of steals. I think that's exciting. I think that is good for the game. So I just
and pitchers being on the mound, similar to what we've heard in like the NBA with I'm just for whatever reason they're kind of like checking their starts, but if I know that Kershaw's pitching versus maybe, we're going to do a bullpen day, which game am I going to pick? And if Kershaw only goes 4 innings, like for some people, is that getting their money's worth? So MLB's also looking at it from that perspective of, you'll know who's going to be on the mound, but they're also going to have a majority of the playing time there too.
It'll be interesting to see if it ever does get to that level. As I said, I think there's a lot of roadblocks for this rule to get enforced. A lot of it is prime example Walker Buehler. He had 87 pitches in the 4th inning in his last start. I mean, he's never going to make it 6 innings in that.
And he would be one of the people who, okay, if you get to 100, then you can come out whenever. But at that point, you still got a pitcher that's thrown 100 pitches, and let's say he makes it 5 innings. Like that's still not, it's still not solving the problem. And trying to just focus more on either command and not necessarily on that velocity.
Absolutely.
Did you hear Oral Hershiser during the game yesterday? They were talking about not this, but kind of adjacent, where to promote more balls in play, if the MLB is set on changing a lot of the rules, potentially eliminating the checked swing. Like, so
I did hear this.
Removing the time that it takes to verify with the first base or the third base umpire, and only a full swing would be considered the strike, versus like if they're able to check their swing at any point, then potentially you're also putting more balls in play because they're not striking out as often.
That is an interest, because it feels like nobody can agree on what a swing is. I do remember Hershiser, because some people think did your wrist break? To me, I consider a swing where the bat crosses the plate. If your swing went across the plate, then it's a swing. But it is interesting if you just get rid of it and just like you have to swing. But I wonder if that would drive up the number of walks. And again, this is what we're talking about.
But you get Shohei on base with the walk, and we've seen him steal 2nd and 3rd. So, I mean, he makes a valid point that would potentially promote more balls into play. And then, it's also going to cut down on time.
You know what? I would say I would rather they put that in place first before they do the 6 inning rule thing, just because I don't know why 100 pitches has become the magic number, because a lot of these pitchers have gotten hurt before 100 pitches. Again, I know it's the philosophy, because some of the Dodgers won't even let them go past 75 pitches.
And that's because they've never gone past 75 in the minors. So I can't have you throwing 100 up here if we didn't even ramp you up.
Yeah, I mean, I would be open to removing the check swing. I would be open to that, just because, look, I know people don't like the pitch clock. I know people tend to blame the pitch clock for injuries, but after they enforced the pitch clock, it was eye-opening to me how much time is wasted in a Major League Baseball game. So I want to see it in effect first, just like I want to see the strike zone challenge in effect first, and see. For me, it's about the flow of the game. As long as it doesn't mess up the flow of the game. I think the pitch clock doesn't mess up the flow of the game. I think it keeps the flow going, which is great. I think
there could be some tweaks to that, though, because we do have a lot of pitchers saying that it is impacting them. I'm not saying that we go pitch clockless, but maybe tweaking that so that they do have a little extra time, because we've heard from multiple pitchers across the league that like that reset is too quick. Like they need a second to be able to reset themselves. I don't know if that's warranted as far as research, or if that's just, I just feel like I need more time. But
that may require a compromise, because Rafael Arroyo, who a former major leaguer, he subscribes to the theory that pitchers should be throwing pitches every 15 seconds. So it's one of those things where, yeah, you can research it. I think it is maybe going to require a compromise, but look, I'm all for it. Let me see how it works. The one thing that I just don't hope, I hope this doesn't happen, and that is ignoring the eye test. if you tried something and it doesn't work, it's okay to go back to the way it was. It really is. There is no
Yeah.
shame.
But
There is no shame.
it's so hard to get changes dialed back though, because
people don't want to admit they're wrong. And
right.
there's nothing wrong with that. You know?
We know that, but that's not what happens in major organizations, you know, whether it's from the MLB side or it's from the MLB Players Association side. We're not necessarily going to see that get walked back.
That's true. Before we wrap things up, there is one more story that you wanted to get to, right?
Just that spring training, the schedule was dropped last week. So if you guys are looking to go to games, it will be from February 20th to March 23rd before they head off to Japan. And the first 2 weekends are going to be like full weekends where they play Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then after that, it's a little bit more scattered. So hopefully we'll see some of you guys out at spring training.
Are you already making your reservations for spring training for next year?
Minute it came out, I had my reservation, my flight booked, and my rental car. So yeah.
There we go.
Oh, you didn't?
You're a diehard. You are a diehard.
I was trying to get in before all the prices got raised.
I will say this. I was an anti-spring training person because I was just like, no, the money I spend on spring training, I can use that towards tickets in the regular season. But then I finally went to spring training and I was like, you know what? It is actually kind of fun. So if you haven't done spring training, I strongly encourage you go. It is the Dodgers have a great complex there. They share it with Las Medias Blancas, but you should
cool
at least
because you can see the players. So like they have the main field that they share with the White Sox, but each side has their training facility for anybody who's not aware. And then they have the 2 fields that they practice on, and they'll do a lot of split squad stuff. And that's not even talking about all the fields in the back for the minor leaguers. But like you can go out and stand along that fence line. You can see those guys warming up, whether it's the pitchers or it's guys working out on the other field. It makes it so that you can get closer to those players. Then like even if you go to a game early at Dodger Stadium, let's say you get in early, you're still seeing them from a distance. This you have a little bit closer capacity to see the guys in action.
Absolutely. So that's going to do it for this episode. Do you have any last words or anything else you want to cover before we go?
Command at the plate. That's it. That's all.
All right. So for those of you who have been listening on the audio portion of the show, please make sure you're subscribed to our podcast, rate us, write us a review, help spread the word. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel, hit that notification button, give us a thumbs up, leave us comments. We love engaging with you. And most importantly, make sure you're following us on social media, on X at BB Shangri-La, on Instagram, YouTube, and Twitch at Baseball Shangri-La. She is Amie Cuevas. I am Juan Ramirez. Nos despedimos con un beso. Amie, say goodbye to the people.
Goodbye, people.